Good afternoon. How is everybody doing? For those of you who may not know me, my name is RJ, and I have collaborated with Pryl, and we have the Curated Legacies. I currently work with motivated investors, and I help them take the money that they've earned to create more revenue.
Yes, and hello, I'm Pryl, and full-time and part-time entrepreneurs turn to me when they are feeling overwhelmed, overworked, and headed towards burnout. And you know what? Curated Legacies is really just it. It came together from us meeting on LinkedIn, two people who had returned back to LinkedIn to kind of dip our toe into a very unfamiliar landscape. I think you can agree it's changed dramatically in the like 10, 12 years that I've been off of. It's no longer like a get a job and get your resume site, but you know, this Curated Legacies there, it's an extension of conversations that we have with one another, of our offline conversations, and things that we challenge each other and that we also challenge our clients. And so, you know, we would get deep into some of these things, and we have seriously 8 weeks of programming just built out. So this is not, even though it's a candid conversation, it's something that we've really put a lot of thought into because it needs to be a part of the larger conversation. So this question you may see, like, why do you want what you want? And some of you may have read that and been like, well, that's easy. But in our experience, working with our clients, that's not an easy question to answer. It's not binary, and it can be extremely layered. I think you would agree, right, RJ?
I would agree. And, I tell people all the time, it starts with the mind, right? You need to go back and dig deep. So some of the things our clients are saying is they really don't know why they're doing anything, right? Because I know that that's one of the questions that we both can identify and say that we do start off with our clients. And that was another thing with us. We realized we have so many similarities with our style, with how we approach our clients and their transformation, right? So one of the things that we both say that we find out is what's driving you, what's making you do what you do, right? It's not about just getting up in the morning and I'm getting ready to go make a paycheck. It has to have more meaning behind that. Wouldn't you agree to that?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so this is a good example. I think it was maybe our first conversation when we were talking about just some of the, what do they call the buzzwords, like catchphrases or things like that. Like people may say, I want generational wealth. If you ask them, okay, why do you, in your case, you work with investors. I work with, full-time and part-time entrepreneurs. And so we may ask them the question, okay, so what's motivating you? What's driving you? Why is it that you want to work with me? Why is it that you want to buy an investment property? Why do you want to start a business or scale your business? And sometimes in my experience, they'll either look at you and kind of like, oh, or they'll give you like these buzzwords, right? Well, because I'm part of the Great Resignation, or I want generational wealth, or they may even throw your own verbiage back at you. Like, I want to build a legacy. I want to leave a legacy. Okay, great.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Right. What does that mean? And again, it's nuance. It means something different to everyone, but many times we're conditioned. We just move on autopilot. So we say things that I call it the infamous that they say that we should want. Even
wait, you mean like the Joneses? Are you referring to like the Joneses when you say
the Joneses, or your mama and them, or people your friends that you look around? We are told that at certain ages you should have things. There's like benchmark ages. Here and this is really primarily. We live in the United States, but it's something that, in my experience, is really kind of centralized. It's just part of our culture here in the United States. But gap years. We don't do gap years. Like, there's something wrong with you if you like, wait a minute, you're not going to college? Okay, you got to go to the college. You got to get a good union job, or you're going to the military.
Right.
Why do so many of us change our majors? I know I changed my major a couple of times.
I did too.
First time I'm going to college. Why do we do it? Because I went to college because everybody in my world.
That was how we were supposed to matriculate through life. right?
Right.
That's just how it was supposed to be done. No one really said why. It's just, this is what you're supposed to do.
Or there's a lot of cultural implications. Um, I know when you're looking at your parents or your grandparents, we don't want to disappoint them. I know as I begin to get older and you look back like, wow, my parents had 4 daughters. They were younger parents. They worked really hard. And so naturally you don't want to disappoint them. So again, that's why I say it's not just one simple answer.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I like nice things. I don't think there's anything wrong with having nice things. I'm not necessarily motivated. Like when I was younger, oh
That's
my
not your
goodness.
motivating factor.
Right. But when I was younger, are you kidding me? If I got a new car, please. I would be volunteering to drive over any other time. No, I'm not driving.
You got
No.
gas on your chest?
Right. You got some gas money on this? Okay. But there's nothing wrong with being seen. There's nothing wrong with being proud and even wanting to show off and display your accomplishments. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But many times, and kind of going back to where we first start with our clients, and even people, we both are that like listening ear. People always hit us up to be a sounding board. So going back to that, like initially, like, why is it that you want that? Why do you want this? I think many times people, again, not just the buzzwords, but they feel, I think, compelled to just give this like very I's and O's binary answer. It's not one thing.
Right.
Just like
It's kind of rehearsed. It's what they kind of condition themselves from hearing over and over. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to grab, they hear things and like, I'm going to grab that one. That's one sounds like I can resonate with it. And that's so not the right way to do it.
No, it's not. And it's okay. Like I tell my business owners, we're in business to make money. So you can't just come at it from the perspective, like, this is placed on my heart. This is my ministry, this is my calling. Absolutely right. I think that there should be some purpose. And we hear that many times, especially as entrepreneurs, like, what's your why? Understand your why, know your why. I also like to flip it. You also have to be acutely aware of your why nots.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is about self-awareness, because that why, the collective why, you're going to have to rely on that. But if your why has nothing to do with you, if it's all external motivations or all things that can be a little bit fickle, like money can get funny. So if you place all of your eggs in that basket, or if you're looking at what other people have that you don't have that, then if you do, then great. But what does that mean if you don't have it? It starts to make you feel like you just can't measure up. And I know a lot of my clients, especially ones that I deal with burnout and stress management, they just are chasing something and they don't know really what it is, but they're on this merry-go-round and it's like picking up, turning into a centrifuge. Like they can't leave even if they want to, like they're stuck, there. So really, this series, and this is our first one. So for those of you who are watching this, thank you for joining us. First of all, thank you. This is really, we just want to
invoke.
Get that conversation, like just think about it. Because many times these are things that you never really think about it from that perspective. Like why
we're always doing and going and doing and going, and we don't take the inventory, the time to take the inventory of our thoughts, right? Because that's kind of like that's work that people are like, I'm not getting paid to do that, so I don't want to do that. And it's like, no, you really got to sit down in quiet contemplation and really sit with yourself, do some brain dumping session, whatever works for you, and create like a list, right? And put it in priority. You really need to get connected to why. And the reason why you need that why, because it's going to keep you anchored. Because there's going to be times you're going to get discouraged. You're going to want to give up. You're going to need something that's going to keep propelling you to move forward, because just the thought of, I want to be successful, is not going to be enough. Because the day, like I say, every day is not peaches and cream. We know this just in business, right? And so, yeah, it behooves me when I hear people say, I just want to do it. And it's like, so, but why?
Right. Why? I sound like a 5-year-old sometimes when I'm coaching, like, why? Like, that's what but again, it's like you're peeling peeling back. And that's really what, ultimately, when we hop off of here, we want to keep the conversation going, and we want people to ask themselves these questions, because this is imperative. This is, and I say this from my experience when I have people who I helped build up their businesses, 2 years ago, part of the Great Resignation, starting a business because everybody started one, leaving their job because everybody was leaving their job. And we are back at this place. Also, sometimes things change, and that's okay too. Like how I said, what motivated me to go be the one to drive and run errands when I was in, my 20s is completely different than what I'm doing in my 40s. And that's okay too. And I think that we are not given the grace to grow and to really sit and think, as you mentioned, like just to stop and think about things. And to say, I don't want it anymore. I don't like this anymore.
At
This
all.
is not why anymore at all.
It changes, because what I was going to say is at every point of our lives, there's stages. And at each of those stages is when we should be having checkpoints with ourselves. In my case, with my clients, I tell them, in every part of your life, you have stages and you're matriculating. And you should ask yourself, is this part of the legacy that I want to leave behind? But again, in order to answer that, it still goes back to your why.
Let's talk about that.
Back to your why.
Legacy. Like, legacy is not just money.
And property.
Yeah, or property, right. Because, so here's the thing. Everybody doesn't have money to leave their children. Everybody doesn't have, and again, and if you're scoreboard watching, if this is what you're comparing yourself to and you're not meeting that, then again, you're failing, and you're not failing at all. So just expand the definition. What does legacy mean to you? There's some great legacies, and there's some not so fantastic legacies that we have been left. Our relationships with money, relationships with work, get that good job and just stay there, or teach your children about money. Or teach the people that you have the opportunity to influence and interact with about money, having a healthy relationship with money.
Like my grandfather, for instance, he left me a legacy of love and respect, right?
Yes.
And so like, that's a legacy. I'm like, yeah, because it's helping me today. He also left me a legacy of the desire to want to help people through real estate, to be a problem solver, right? And I love helping people solve problems with that, but it was because there was a legacy that was left. Now, granted, I grew up in an era where parents didn't share information. I still got wind of the stories. I just didn't get the blueprint to understand how to actually put it together, but it was there. He just didn't know how to, really pull it together. So he did have a why. And, but now we're able to define it. And that's what we're trying to emphasize here, that you got to start somewhere. You're never too young. You're never too old. And don't have this mentality of YOLO, you only live once and I'll do it one day.
When you get to that one day, who knows what your body is going to be talking about? Your nerves may be bad. Like you know what I mean? Like, and that's okay, because I'm not the same person that I was, like I said, 20 years ago. And I'm not going to be the same person in my 60s as I was in my 40s. So, again, this is designed to grow, but I definitely, I mean, if anything, if you have to say, like, what's the moral of the story? Just ask yourself what motivates and what drives you right now, today. Like you mentioned, make a list, everything, even if it is being able to show off and go back home and people that said you weren't going to be nothing.
We all know we got some of those people in our back pocket. Look, and sometimes those people could be family. It's not always just high school friends. It could be family. I'm just saying.
Because I'm saying, but like, you have to be self-aware. That's the thing too. Many of my clients, and hold on, let me take a step back. I became an entrepreneur without a why. I ran away from corporate. I say that consistently because I didn't leave corporate. I didn't, no, I dipped. I straight dipped. I ran off. I was burned out. I was overworked. I don't even have the words to describe what was going on with me. And I'll be honest with you, when I left corporate, I felt like a failure. Who does that? Who leaves that? I mean, I had a
Did you think about it? Was it a plan?
No. I mean, I knew that day that I was going to leave and get in my car and drive out the parking lot. I'm like, I can't go back. Like, I couldn't. Like, and I'd never been at that place before. Like, I've been at jobs where I've overstayed my welcome. Again, because admittedly, I was a workaholic. I struggled with boundaries. I struggled with balance. I was a people pleaser. And I can say this now. To me, a people pleaser was I'm trying to get you to like me. That wasn't what it was for me. I wasn't trying to disappoint people. And again, much prayer, supplication, and therapy, I arrived at this point where I can say this, but no, like I felt like a huge failure. I felt like, what is wrong with me that I'm leaving this job that,
But the job didn't define you.
right. But it did.
But I'm saying, looking back, you realize that job is not my identity.
Right. No. But it was my identity again because of the they. So I had to go through that process of, I could not even answer what I want. Any goal, any benchmark, anything. I think about it, especially if you're raised on like the college prep track. We are told when we're young, you get good grades because you got to, get into a good college. You get into a good college so you can get a good job, or you learn a trade so you can get a good job. If you get a job, you don't want to leave that job. Like, you stay put. Even we are talking, and it's fear-based. It is. If that's how you perceive it, let me say that, because I don't think that for many people it's not, but for people like me, it was. And like, oh man, I have to think about, when I'm 65, am I going to be able to live this 6-figure lifestyle still? Oh, so right. Now I need to here I am, late 30s, mid 30s, even into my 20s, thinking in fear of how I won't be able to live 40, 30 something years from now. And it doesn't mean that you don't think about this. Of course, it's important. But again, if you ask me what was my why, that's what motivated me. I was motivated by fear. I was motivated by fear of failing and fear of disappointing people. So here I go, turn into an entrepreneur. Well, I've got a skill set. People are calling me. Like, they know I'm at home. So asking me, picking my brain, all these people leaving their jobs, starting businesses, reaching out to me. So I became an entrepreneur. But I had no why.
You had no why.
Not at first. I found one. And we've talked about this, but my why was based on the fact that nobody helped me. I did not have anyone that looked like me, that could relate to me, that would share with me. I should have led with that and not been like, sure, if I'll tell you something, but you got to pay. Like, I wanted to know how to start my business on my own. And as many things, I've had to do it myself. And I realized, like, wow, I don't want anybody to feel how I felt.
Yeah.
That's like, it's a tough place to be in when you don't feel supported. And so is what motivated me initially.
And see, mine was the opposite. So I knew what my why was, but I didn't know how to go about it, right? Because there wasn't anybody out there willing to show me the ropes, so to speak, right? And if I'm dating myself and putting myself out there, YouTube hadn't had any information, good on YouTube University.
They were still building that curriculum, huh? Okay. Charter wasn't approved yet.
So I fired my boss, and I was just like, I'm going to go out here and figure it out. So I definitely had to obviously fail and learn all at the same time, but that's where I cut my grit and just really became determined. And that's what brought me here. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't want people to experience what I went through, because school isn't for everybody. Let's just be honest. I didn't go straight to school as a traditional age student. Okay. I did graduate from college. I went to college in Boston, all girls school, great experience, but I wasn't a traditional age student. And the reason why I went to school as a non-traditional student, because I just didn't want to miss the route that they said that you're supposed to go through. You're supposed to go through college. And here I am, 23, 24, and I'm enrolling in college. And at the time I had 2 kids at the time. And I'm like, but this is how they say life is supposed to go. So let me go sign up for school. And that I and what I do today, don't get me wrong, the experience was good. It was very enriched. I met some great friends and I'm still friends with today. But what I do today, I didn't need to go to school. I didn't need to get myself in the debt that I had to scrap and get myself out of. It was not required. But that's because I knew my why. So I was the opposite. I knew my why, but I didn't know what tools it took to actually push my why to really making it come alive, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And if you think about it, that has not, for most of us, that like framing things in that way, that perspective has not changed. We do things because it's just what everyone else does, or it's what we're supposed to do. And I know for me, I had a true awakening when I left corporate. Just realizing here I am, I don't know, 42 or so, I don't know, years old, but regardless.
4 years old right now, but go.
Well, but at any age, that part's irrelevant. But I realized, like, I don't know who I am. Like, I did go to college. I went to college with a baby on my hip and was in school for almost 10 years, earning 3 degrees. I'm smart. So why do I feel so dumb? Like, how can I say that? Like, I don't know who I am. Because my identity was completely shaped around other people's expectations. So again, we bring that with us when we go to another job. We bring that, we allow our environment, and your environment should 100% healthy environment should influence and your motivation and your drive.
Mm-hmm. College still was a good experience. It shaped me in a lot of different ways.
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. It was a healthy environment, and you can thrive and glean from that. But yeah, so you were stuck.
Yeah, and the real learning, the schooling happened when I left, and I had nothing else to like give me my goal posts, no benchmarks, no anything. There's no, rubric to tell me if I've done my job great. There's no external reinforcement, right? Nothing, none of that. So it was just me by myself and just having these conversations. And we've talked about that. These conversations that we have with our clients, they're ones that we had with ourselves first and continue to have, as recently. I was having like, why am I doing this? Like, this is something that as you evolve and as you grow as a person, your motivations and your drive. I think that there's some that are just, innately bound to you. And those, I think, more are like your values, your ethos. Mm-hmm. But your motivations as you grow, they should be growing as well. So what would you, let me look at the time here, because, we have to stay on time, 30 minutes in and out. Let's talk about some reflections that people can have. So they watch this, they listen to us, see us.
Well, like I said,
what are some reflections?
At every stage of your life, you should always ask yourself, is what you're doing now part of the legacy that you want to leave behind? Point blank, period. It's something that you can ask yourself at every stage of your life, every stage. And it's your way of doing your own self-assessment.
Yeah, that's true. And I would say for me, ask yourself, continue to say why. Like you said, pull out that sheet of paper. I like to write things down. I don't know about these newfangled folks.
Drill down.
Yeah, these young folks here. But I like to get a good old mechanical pencil. My father would be so proud.
Wait, not a number two? Not a number 2 pencil?
No. Mechanical. I don't like that inconsistent. I'm very particular.
I got a box full of mechanical. I'm with you.
Let me get my mechanical pencil. Let me get a piece of paper. Write these things down.
Right.
And continue to ask myself why, and be okay with what you see. Again, you're not limited. And that's the thing too. There is no one saying to you, this is good or bad. If the number one thing on your list is because you want to stunt, fine. Right. If you say, I want to be able to get this better paying job or to get my college degree.
Right. Or to
Because
start a college fund for your kids.
right, to do
Whatever your
whatever it
why
is.
is. Yeah.
Even if you say it's because I know that it's what my late mother or my late
I was
grandmother
just
or
about
what
to
my
say your
parents
aging parents, you want to make them proud. Like
want.
we
Right.
can go on
That's
and
okay.
on and on.
But put it down and make sure that some of your wants are on there. I know with my clients, they are nowhere to be found. Their wants, and that's why they are overwhelmed and leading to that place of burnout, headed straight towards it, because their wants and their needs were not considered. So that's why I say, like, continue to ask yourself why. When you put that down, why is it that you want that? And just make sure you show up. And it's okay if it starts to shine a light. That's another thing. This process is why it's candid, because this is not like the woo, the fluff.
No.
These are real, true conversations, because we want people to be successful. We want you to, whatever it is, to love the job that you're doing, to
Right.
love the legacy that you want to
Love
leave.
your decisions that you're
Right.
making.
Love it. Show up in it. It looks like you. If it makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's important. So that's why we're saying, like, this is not for anyone else. There's no right or wrong answer, because this is what you want. And this really is the first step. Like, if you want to be successful at anything, you have to, again, that's why they say, like, what is your why? Like, it has to be that. And then the next phase of that is, which will lead into what we're talking about next week. But
Right.
that is, your mindset. Again, that's a buzzword, mindset. I say, get your mind right. Is your mind right? Like, get your mind right. Like, but and what is it that you say for your clients instead of mindset? What do you tell them?
No, I ask them, do they have their legacy mindset? Because it's a different type of thinking.
Right. So again, these things, they run hand in hand.
They do.
And self-awareness, I say self-awareness is key. This will save you a lot of time, money, stress. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It will guide you. It will guide
Yes,
you.
this
Yeah.
can be applied to any decision. Even if it's friends are calling you, you got your jammies on, you're laying down on the couch, and people say, like, oh, we're meeting up, we're going to brunch, or, we're getting ready to meet up for some appetizers or whatever. And your first instinct is, I don't want to go. But yet you get up and you go, why'd you do that? You
Why?
already said, I don't want it.
Right. Why? It comes down to why.
Right. So why are you going to do something that you don't want to do? And again, this is designed. This is an exercise. It's designed to just challenge you, provoke some thought.
And when I did that, I was able to move myself from where I was to where I wanted to be, because I literally had to sit down, like I'm suggesting that you do, and write a list. And I didn't try and put it in any particular order. I just did a brain dump. And then I came back and put it in priorities. And I had to sit with it. This isn't something that you just get like 5 minutes and I'm done. No, this takes work and commitment. But the outcome outweighs all the work.
Right. Build that foundation. Trust. I've built a business on a shell foundation. And even though it may be looking good, the business was successful, I wasn't happy. Right. And I just had my direction was just all over the place, because I was trying to do things to, I call myself a Captain Save 'em. I was out there just trying to meet everybody's needs. And that's not what you want either. So again, it really truly starts with just understanding your why. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Asking yourself, what are your motivations and what are your drivers? And that's really it.
Well, April, it's been a pleasure. Congratulations to us on our first episode. I look forward to doing this again next week, same time, 4 p.m. EST and 1 p.m. PST.
Yes.
And it's been good. So until next time, we will see you next week. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments and we'll come back and check on it.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time today. And of course, it was lovely to see you, per usual.